Hey besties, welcome back to Bella's World. If you're new here, I'm Bella and this is Bella's World. So today I'm doing a highly requested cost breakdown for my 12-day solo trip to Zanzibar in September, and I'll be taking you guys through the costs of everything: my flights, accommodation, activities, transport, food, and everything. And then stick around until the end of the video so that I can give you the final grand total. So I'll be sharing the cost breakdown in three currencies: in US dollar, South African rand, and Tanzanian shillings. So I'll have all the numbers on the screen as I go through the cost breakdown. So I'll have everything here on my second phone, but because I can't see, I'm gonna put out my glasses. Let me put on my glasses. Okay, let's get into it. So the cost for my return flights from Johannesburg, in rands, it was 12,000 rand. And then I paid for extra luggage, and that was 387 rand. So the grand total for the flights and the extra luggage was 12,600 rand, and that is $685. And in Tanzanian shillings, that was 1.7 million shillings. So the cost of the flight included a snack for both flights. I pre-booked a seat and I also had priority boarding, so that is what brought it to the total of 12,000 rand. And yeah, and then I got the extra luggage. So the airline I flew with was Fly Safair, and I flew from Johannesburg. I also had to book another flight from Cape Town to Johannesburg, but I didn't include that in the itinerary. So we're going to focus on the whole cost of the trip from if you're flying from Johannesburg. And then the next thing on my list is the accommodation. So I spent 12 days in Zanzibar and I stayed in 4 towns. I started my trip in Nungwi. I spent 3 nights in Nungwi, and the cost of my accommodation in Nungwi was $205. And that was for 3 nights at a B&B, including breakfast, and city taxes of $6, so $2 per night. And that was a grand total of $211, and that is 3,800 rand. And in shillings, 571,000 shillings. So that was the price for the accommodation for Nungwi. And then after Nungwi, I went on to Nchamvi. And in Nchamvi, I stayed at this beautiful boutique hotel. I spent 2 nights there. I wish I spent more time there. I spent 2 nights there, and the cost of that hotel was $194 plus $4 city taxes for $2 per night, and the grand total was $198, and that was roughly 3,600 rands and 540,000 shillings. And then after that, I went to Jambiani. I spent 2 nights in Jambiani in a hotel there, and that cost $145. And I didn't pay any city taxes. I think the landlord covered that. And that, yeah, so the cost was $145, and that is roughly 2,600 rand and 401,000 shillings. And then after Jambiani, I went to Stone Town. I spent 4 nights in Stone Town, so that was the place where I spent the most time. And I stayed at a hotel there where the cost of the hotel was $331, including the city taxes of $5 per night. So I spent $20 on city taxes. And that in total, that was roughly $331, roughly 5,700 rand, 912,000 shillings. So that was the cost of the accommodation in all the different towns, and the grand total of all the accommodations, including all the city taxes, was $885, and that is approximately 15,800 rand, 2.4 million shillings. So that was the cost of my accommodation, and I think that's not too bad for someone staying for 11 nights, and I moved quite a bit. So when we add the cost of the flights and the cost of the accommodation, that brings us to a running total of $1,570. That is approximately 28,500 Rand or 4 million shillings. And that was about 49% of the budget. Then we move over to the cost of the activities and the transport and some content creation stuff that I paid for. Um, I decided to put the activities and the transport together because I was basically using the transport to move in between for all the different activities. So that's why I decided to, group it together in my cost breakdown. So the total cost of my activities and the transport was $1,329. And then from that $1,329 included $300 for drone shoots. So I did 2 drone shoots. The first drone shoot I did when I did the clear kayaking in Kendo Beach. That was $150. And then plus the transport and the kayaking, it was a total of $180 for that whole activity. And then I also did a drone shoot at Nakupenda Island when I was in Stone Town. Took a little boat, and I went to Nakupenda Island and I had a shoot, a swam. I didn't have the food or anything, so it was just the drone shoot, $150, and then the boat trip there and back. And then I just spent some time on the island before heading back to the hotel. So I did quite a lot of activities while I was in Zanzibar. So I did a private member island tour where I went snorkeling and swimming with the dolphins, and that also included some fruit as well, and obviously transport and everything. And it also included underwater footage. So the tour guide I booked, he's also a content creator, so he brought his GoPro and then he filmed some content of me underwater and the dolphins and also snorkeling. So that was really cool. And that was included in that package. And I think I paid for that package, I paid $135 and it was a private trip. Yeah. And then another activity that I did was swimming with the turtles, and that cost me $10. And I also did the clear kayaking with the drone shoot. I also visited Eden Rock Beach. I also went to Malum Cave. I went swimming in a cave. And I also did the Stone Town tour. I did the Safari Blue tour. I did a private Sunset Dhow cruise. So I did really do quite a lot to spend that $1,329. And that in rands is about 23,000 Rand. And in shillings, that's almost 1.4 million shillings. So that is the cost of my activities, transport, and some, content creation stuff. So our running total now for the accommodation, flights, transport, and activities is $2,898. And in rands, that is 51,500 Rand. And in shillings, that's 5.5 million shillings. So that brings us to 91% of the budget. So after that, let's get into the food and the drinks. So let me grab a drink. Let me grab the drink that I'm drinking right now. I'm having some wine. Let's have some wine. Cheers, darling. So the next thing we're going to discuss on my cost breakdown is the cost of the food and drinks in Zanzibar. So I made sure that with every accommodation I booked, it included breakfast. So that was one meal down for the day. So I made sure every morning I had the free breakfast. And it was always like a buffet, lots of fruit, lots of fresh fruit, and obviously eggs, coffee, juice, yeah, and no bacon for those that want bacon. Zanzibar is like a 99% Muslim country, so you're not going to get any bacon with your breakfast. But it was fine with me because I don't eat meat, so it was perfect. And then I actually only ate twice a day. So I think that saved me a lot of money. I'd have my big breakfast, and then some activities included food. So sometimes I'll eat during the day when I have my activity, and then depending on what time I come back, I'll have a late lunch or an early dinner, and then I'll call it a night. So I basically ate twice a day. That cost me $187 for 12 days. And in rands, that's 3,200 rand. And in shillings, that is 511,000 shillings. So for food, I would be going to basically the restaurant at the hotel, or maybe go to a neighboring restaurant. And a quick tip with the restaurants: if you have cash, rather pay in cash, because if you use your card, then you'll add, let's say, 2 to 5% for, the credit card fees. Yeah, so they basically charge you for whatever Visa or MasterCard fees they'll incur for every card transaction. So it's better to just pay in cash. So I mostly paid in cash, but then I wanted to keep the cash for my activities and buying souvenirs and stuff. So in some places I would, swipe with my card and pay a little extra. But yeah, so that was the total cost of food for 12 days. I hardly drank alcohol when I was there, so I was really just drinking lots of water and juice. Like I think I had like an alcoholic drink maybe once or twice while I was there, so I wasn't drinking any alcohol. And most of the food I was ordering was either vegetarian food or seafood. That is the only food I was eating, and obviously the breakfast. Yeah, and then another thing on the budget was, those other random things that you just buy, souvenirs, tips. Um, like I bought this from a man from the Maasai tribe on Jambiani Beach. It was overpriced, but I got it anyway. So yeah, for all those other random costs, that cost me $105. And in rands, that's about 1,800 rand. And in shillings, that's 290,000 shillings. So that brings us now to the grand total. Okay, so if we add up all of these costs, the flights, the accommodation, the activities, transport, food and drinks, and other random things, the total cost for my trip to Zanzibar, 12 days, 11 nights, solo, so I didn't split this with anyone. This was all me, solo. The total cost was $3,191. So that is what cost me. And in rands, that's approximately 56,600 rand. And in shillings, that's approximately 6.3 million shillings. So this brings us to the end of the cost breakdown video. So I hope this information was useful for any of you who's planning a trip to Zanzibar, whether it's going to be solo or with a partner or with a friend. Just take into consideration that everything that I paid for was solo, so obviously it will be cheaper if you are splitting the cost with someone. And also, most of the activities, well, all of the activities I did solo, so I had like private activities. If you're sharing your activities or you're doing it with a friend or a group, it will obviously be cheaper. So yeah, it doesn't have to cost as much as it costs for me. Some people also are not content creators, so you're not going to want drone shoots that cost $150, and that's okay. Like we go on vacations for different things. So yeah, I hope this will be useful. And let me know in the comments if you have any further questions. I'm thinking of doing more videos because I've been getting a lot of questions from people, especially on these Facebook travel groups that I've joined. So yeah, I think I'll make another video with some travel tips for solo travelers going to Zanzibar. And if you have any other questions for any future videos that I should make on my trip, please leave the questions in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, besties.